The hell is going on here?
Hey everybody, welcome back to Listography. Jason, Joe, and Kramzer, and it is time for round 3 of our March Badness tournament. The Elite eight terrible records left in the tournament, and today we're going to get it down to the final 4. With your help, of course, your votes are in. So let's recap where we are, what matchups we're looking at today. We've got Life, Love, and Hope by Boston up against Philosophy of the World by the Shags. We've got Results May Vary by Limp Bizkit up against All the Right Reasons by Nickelback. Angelic to the Core by Corey Feldman up against Fun Style by Liz Phair. And Bon Jovi 2020 up against Long Road Out of Eden by the Eagles. Some tough matchups, but looking at the percentages, not that close. Not really any of the battles that are neck and neck.
We'll get there. Once we get to the final 4, I think it's going to be tough. There's going to be a lot of backdoor politics and lobbying to get some of these albums going forward.
All right, so let's get into the first one, I guess. We've got Boston up against the Shags. Remember how the voting works. We got 2 points for the winner of the fan poll, and then each of us account for 1 vote. So it's going to take all 3 of us to overturn any audience decisions. And the audience says that the worst album is Boston's Life, Love, and Hope, 58% to 42% for the Shags.
I mean, I can't disagree with that. I think the audience, our viewers, have made the correct choice. As bad as the Shags is, it's just worse that Boston, who have created something great in their time, would get to this level of awfulness. The Shags, they're sort of a novelty, and the Boston just has no excuse for what they've done to the world with this album. So I'm voting Boston. I think the audience has it right.
They do have it right, but I'm surprised that the audience went with Boston. Thought there would be just some, classic 70s radio rock loyalists out there that would just, go with their old school thoughts. The Shags, terrible also, no doubt. But yeah, Boston should know better, and it's like a more monumental failure than just like the Shags. You just don't have it, kids. Boston should just know better. I'm with you. It's now 4-0. Jason's vote don't matter, but what do you got? You going Boston or Shags?
I'm going Boston too. I think you can make an argument that the Shags are kind of like this outsider art thing. They're kind of have this pure artistic expression because they're totally removed from any type of influence, like kind of growing up in this weird religious household and not really knowing any other music. You can make some kind of an argument for it. There is no argument to be made for the Boston album. It is just bad the whole way around. So Boston for me.
Especially when you consider how long it took to make this Boston album. Like, it should have come out like The Cure for Cancer. So much time to do this, and it's barely better than Corporate America or whatever the album before that was, which is, I think, should have been on this list as well, but one Boston is enough.
Next on our Elite 8, we have a matchup of classic late 90s, early 2000s alternative radio. You got Limp Bizkit with Results May Vary going up against Nickelback, All the Right Reasons. And there's really no winner for these two. It's a good matchup. I'm glad that these two came together. We didn't plan that or anything like that, but I think it just feels right that these two would face off for a chance to go to the Final 4.
It is. The audience selecting Limp Bizkit's Results May Vary by a good bit, 68 to 32. But I don't agree with the audience. I think Nickelback is worse. I think All the Right Reasons is worse for all the right reasons. They're just such a money-grubbing, sellout shell of what art is, just absolute garbage. At least Limp Bizkit kind of does their own thing. there's not much more I can defend with Limp Bizkit. I mean, it also was terrible. But so that's like my main thing is they do what they want to do and they suck at it. Nickelback is just like a market research band that just does whatever, is going to make them the most money, and they're open about it. Lyrically, Limp Bizkit stuff is just terrible, but Nickelback stuff is just like sellout anti-art pieces of crap. It's from the spectrum of like the weirdest, most honest avant-garde art stuff. Nickelback is the other end. Like they would open a restaurant chain if the record company was like, "You'll make money doing this." They're like, "Then we're doing it. That's it. End of story." There should be a Nickelback board game. If it's going to make the money, they're going to do it. Yeah, they're just tools. They out-tool Limp Bizkit a little bit, but yeah, I'm going against the audience. I got all the right reasons. Moving on, but we'll see.
I too am going against the audience. I'm going Nickelback. I was accused in the last video for defending each of these bands, but I had to choose to side with something, and it's unfortunate that I have to defend one of them again. But yeah, the Nickelback is just so bad. I hate the way it sounds. It's just, I mean, I guess there is a way of looking at it to think that it sounds good, but it just sounds so perfect that it sounds totally lifeless, and there's no expression in any of the playing, at least not to my ears. I can't really say that the Limp Bizkit is much better, but I really hate the Nickelback, so Nickelback.
Okay, so that's 2 for Nickelback and 2 for Limp Bizkit. Now, I don't want to accuse you guys of voting against a band here, but I kind of feel like you're just voting against the entity of Nickelback instead of the badness on these records. There's nothing on Nickelback's All the Right Reason that even comes close to approaching Limp Bizkit's cover of Behind Blue Eyes. It's not even close. Nickelback isn't good. We all know that. It's a bad record made by corporate, sellouts that just want to get on the radio, make money. But isn't that what being a rock star is all about? Just making money and selling records? Yes, it is. That's exactly what it's about. That's the height. I mean, they'll obviously never be popular with the critics. No one, they're not going to have a dedicated fan base dedicated to the, defending them on the internet. The only thing Nickelback could strive for is just selling records and making money. That's why they exist. And I think this album really just works for that track that they decided to go with. It's a 2-star album. It's a 4 out of 10. But the Limp Bizkit's a 1 out of 10. Has no redeeming value. At least Nickelback's catchy. It's corporate and overproduced, and I like what you were saying, Cramser. It feels like they, did like market research, decided like, okay, so we'll start C. Where do you think we should go from here? Let's have every executive at Sony weigh in on this one. And yeah, it's a crappy way to make a rock record, but it kind of works in their own crappy way. I can't find anything redeemable about Limp Bizkit. Therefore, my vote, Limp Bizkit, results may vary. Lock it in. I'm the man of the people, and Limp Bizkit is moving on.
You keep bringing up the Behind the Blue Eyes cover, which is terrible. But that argument I use against you because at least on the Limp Bizkit album, there is a song that's written by neither Limp Bizkit or Nickelback. So that's, to me, that at least puts it over the edge.
I'll take that cover any day of the week over Photograph or Animals. Both of those songs are worse.
No, I'm afraid not. There's no possible way. If they had just covered it and like done the whole song in their own like crappy Limp Bizkit way, that's fine. I could live with that. But the way they like mix it up and cut it up and leave out the entire second half and like isn't Snoop Dogg on it or something ridiculous? Like it just doesn't make any sense. It's a terrible, terrible cover. I will have no more of this. Limp Bizkit has moved on. It's the end of the story. They're worse.
All right. Next up, we've got a heavy favorite coming out of the other side of the bracket. Corey Feldman, your favorite of the Coreys. Mine too. That's an argument for a different video, which Corey is better. Throw in Corey Hart there, and we got a good argument. I'm going to go Feldman is winning from the audience by 80 to 20. Angelic to the Core over Liz Phair, Fun Style. But let's see what you guys think.
Well, this is sort of, I think the audience again has it right. It's pretty much a runaway. Liz Phair, terrible. She should know better. She shouldn't have released it. But not every track on the album is awful. If you can get through the horridness of the first couple tracks, there's some kind of normal Liz Phair kind of, outtakes, B-sides. It's not the worst thing in the universe. It's bad. Don't get me wrong. It belongs on this tournament for sure. But I think Phair has reached sort of the end of her Cinderella run. It's time for, the big boys to get to the Final Four, the favorites. Corey Feldman, I think he deserves his place in the Final Four. He's earned it with this piece of crap that is angelic to the core.
I agree with Joe. Corey Feldman, moving on easily. The Liz Phair is really bad, and the low points of the Liz Phair might be worse than anything on the Corey Feldman album. But Corey Feldman is just bad the whole way through, so I'm going with Feldman.
I'm going to agree. It's a sweep, just a blowout victory for Feldman, but that's not to shed any good light really on this Liz Phair thing. Even the normal kind of Liz Phair stuff is still pretty weak to me. But I think when I think about this Angelic to the Core album, and I think this is something we should maybe talk about a little bit, versus like the Shags Philosophy of the World, two kind of albums where it's just like, do you even know what music is? Why is the Shags kind of like considered by some this bizarre artistic approach where Corey Feldman, we're not really giving him that credit for someone that doesn't really belong in the music industry and has like a pretty turbulent history and like probably his soul was never in a good place, knowing what we know about him being abused and all that stuff. So why isn't this bizarre pop mecha album that came out of his head and heart and soul at least get some sort of artistic credit from people? Why not?
I did see some defenders in our comments. Did you guys see this? I don't know why. Maybe time. Maybe in 20 years that enough of those people will have found each other and, raised their voices as one.
That fan base will no doubt be called Corey's Angels moving forward.
I think it just comes down to like the innocence of the Shags up against like the Feldman project seems sort of trying too hard. Like it doesn't seem natural. Like you got Snoop Dogg and Corrupt and Fred Durst is on it. So it I don't know. It kind of feels like a publicity stunt, whereas the Shags kind of feels like something that sort of emerged naturally out of time. In a way, it just doesn't feel quite as soulless as Corey's project.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think he really is buying into this like pop star status that he's doing. But regardless, it is a terrible, terrible listen. And it's moving on and a strong contender to win this whole damn thing.
Now we get to a matchup of classic rockers, another kind of serendipitous, I think, matchup. You had Bon Jovi with 2020 up against the Eagles, Long Road Out of Eden. And this one, the audience has chosen Bon Jovi's 2020, 59% to 41% for Long Road Out of Eden. A relatively close matchup. We all know how Cramser and Jason feel about Long Road Out of Eden. So could this be a flip? Our final matchup of the night. Let's find out.
This one was really tough because I really hate both of them. They're both really terrible. So I think, I don't know, the Bon Jovi one, I feel like his heart is in the right place. He's trying to make some sort of comment on the current situation in the world. And he wants to just kind of comfort people. The Eagles kind of feels a little sinister to me. I think they're in it for all the wrong reasons. It feels like a cash grab. I don't know how much money Walmart gave them to sell it there exclusively at first. And it's a double album. So I'm going Eagles on this one. Both are really rough listens. Both are terrible. I hope to never hear either ever again after this tournament. But yeah, Eagles just a little bit worse, I think.
Very interesting. For those who have watched the channel a lot, know I don't like the Eagles at all. Not really a big Bon Jovi fan, but I'll take listening to Bon Jovi every day of the week over the Eagles. Let the comments light on fire there. I just don't like the Eagles at all. So, yeah, I kind of agree with what Jason was saying, where this Eagles album is just like embarrassingly self-indulgent. It's boring. It's a yawn fest. There's nothing interesting about it. It's a cash grab, like you said. Good call. So it's like just getting slapped in the face with just like a wet rag all day long. The Bon Jovi album's like he is approaching you with this wet rag and just falls before he gets to you. It's such an airball of an album. Like just his gravitas and just like bravado being like, I'm going to touch people's soul when they need it most, and just not getting close at all. It pretty much comes down to like, how much do I dislike listening to a double album like this, just grimacing and hating it, versus listening to one album and just being like, and I hate to laugh at art. So Bon Jovi moves on for me. It's Bon Jovi 2020 with the win, with the audience, but it's close. This was a double overtime, last minute shot sort of basketball win for Bon Jovi 2020. It's also nice to just get some new album blood in there, but that wasn't the reason I picked it. I legitimately think this is just a worse album. Everything about it, like the album cover, and can't take it.
I have to agree with Kramzer and the audience. I don't quite understand. I mean, I know the Eagles' Long Road Out of Eden is a bad album, but I never really thought it belonged on this list. I think it's just a middling, as mediocre as you can possibly get. I don't find the badness. Bon Jovi, on the other hand, is just so ill-conceived and just like, I love the airball analogy there, Kramzer. It's just such a whiff. He just reached for the stars and just completely fell on his face. I love it. And it's just so bad. It's just so dumb, so hokey. The lyrics, he tries so hard to be Bruce Springsteen and relevant, and everyone ignored it. I didn't even know it came out. It was completely ignored. I don't think it sold any, didn't have a big single, anything like that. And it got what it deserved. And it is moving on into the Final Four, and I really hope to see it go all the way to the championship. That's how much I dislike. And I don't even hate Bon Jovi. I like plenty of Bon Jovi songs, but this album is just intolerable. So yeah, it's moving on to the Final Four.
It's like they have 3 seconds left on this team, and John Bon Jovi gets in the coach's ear and is like, get me the ball. I can make this shot. And then with seconds left, just like shoots, and it just goes 15 feet wide. And everyone's just like, why did we let him do this? Why? Does he have to be the one? Really? It's not. It's sad.
And Michael Jordan's on the team.
Yeah, right. We have Letter to You by Springsteen. Like we got it covered, dude. We did it. The aging rock artist did this album already.
All right, so we got it down to 4, and it's time to turn it back over to you to decide who will be in our finals. So you will be voting on Life, Love, and Hope by Boston against Results May Vary by Limp Bizkit. And the other matchup is going to be Angelic to the Core by Corey Feldman against Bon Jovi 2020. I don't know about how you guys feel about the Final Four, but I think one of those does not belong in this level of badness. The other three could go, any three of those could go to the final. I think one of them is just not quite bad enough.
Well, I disagree. All of these, this is just a nice reassurance of my star ratings, because these are all 1-star albums in my almanac, and like a case for less than 1 star, but all 1 star, just awful failures.
Yeah, I don't think I could have scripted this any better. I think everyone's pretty much on the same page with their badness. I think these are very deserving albums to be here, and I couldn't have done it better myself. So I'm happy with this, and there are no losers here, because they're all losers.
Which one are you talking about that you don't think belongs? Like, I have no idea looking at these 4.
Jason's a closet Limp Bizkit Fred Durst fan. He doesn't want to admit it, but I'm pretty sure that's obvious now.
I don't want to sway the vote, so I'm not going to say.
It's all about the he said, she said bullshit, right, Jason?
All right, so go vote. Hit the link will be down in the description. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and we will see you in the final 4. Thanks for watching.